Hello everybody, Gisele Grenier here. In this video lesson, what we're going to be doing is we're going to do first comparison with a pure violet, and then mixed violets, and shifting them on the color wheel. So just a recap on the first lesson, we basically took single pigments other than the craft paint, did a value scale to see the true underlying colors. In the second lesson, we did color mixes using phthalo blue, alizarin crimson, ultramarine blue, naphthol red light, and then some decor media acrylics of primary cyan and primary magenta, and we did some comparisons there. And that from that lesson, you can choose whether you prefer brighter violets or more neutral violets. Now in this lesson, I did prepare some work ahead of time to save time, and we're only going to be using these colors here because this lesson would be way too long if I did the whole range of blues and violets and reds. So I'm going to be using the Decor Traditions Phthalo Blue, Ultramarine Blue, Quinacridone Violet, and Permanent Alizarin Crimson, because these are in my limited palette. Quinacridone Violet, not as much, but I would probably classify that as more of my extended palette. And then I have Dioxazine Purple, which is a single pigment. I'm also going to be working with the fluid acrylics of the primary cyan and primary magenta, and I have everything here. So these paints are in this order here, then these two are the fluid acrylics along with white. Now what I've also done is I've run out of this, and to save, and one thing to look at when saving money is use gesso. I've got, oh, I can't, hang on, let me get it. Oh, ow, I hit the camera. I've got this big container of gesso. This is too hard for me to handle with my arthritis. So I take this and I pour it into a smaller bottle. And so I did it with this one here. Put it into a smaller bottle. Oh man, that hurt my head. So using gesso instead. So in the chart, what I have is I have Dioxazine Purple. Then in the square next to it, I put plus B, which is more blue. And then plus R for more red. Phthalo Blue and Alizarin Crimson, plus blue plus red, phthalo blue quinacridone violet plus blue plus red, a primary cyan primary magenta plus blue plus red, ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson, blue and red, and then ultramarine blue quinacridone violet, blue and red. One color would have been nice to see would be red violet, but red violet is really not a color I use a lot. I may pop it into my extended palette, but so far it's been, I think, 3 years and I've never used it in a painting, so it's probably not. And same with quinacridone violet, I don't use it that often. I didn't bother going with the naphthol colors because when I'm making violets, those are colors I typically wouldn't use with alizarin crimson as my go-to. But that's not to say that you shouldn't do that. I highly encourage you to experiment with as many colors as you have. So we'll start first with making our primary mixtures. Okay, so this will be a good practice run for you. We have our Dioxazine Purple here and white. We're not going to do a huge value scale as well because you've gotten a lot. You can do a lot of that practice on your own. Okay. So now with this, I say, well, if we want to shift that more, what do we shift it with? We've got a whole bunch of reds. Just to keep it on the same keel, I'm going to let's see. I can look at my reds. What do I want to use? If I want to use a true violet with purple, I would go with a red violet. But I don't want to work with a violet. I want to work with a red. I want to shift Dioxazine Purple to a red. So that's where out here I've got the Quinacridone Violet, which is PR 122, which is what I'm going to use. So Dioxazine Purple, and I start off with roughly equal parts. Oh, this is going to be a gorgeous violet. Oh. I have to make sure it leans towards red. I can't tell because it's so dark. The only way to tell, add white. Let's do it down here. Yeah, it does lean a little bit more towards red. Not as much as I was hoping. So what I'm going to do is I have one more square I can work with. There we go. I can bring that down. So that definitely leans more towards red. There we go. That's a sexy color. I like that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take that same mixture. So we have the Dioxazine Purple with a lot more red here. So I can take the Dioxazine Purple that has, now it's got a little bit more blue in it. So I can just go, what blue we're going to use. I think I want to stick with the ultramarine blue because ultramarine blue automatically leans towards blue. So we'll take Dioxazine Purple with blue. Let's see where that takes us. I forgot that had red in it. Let's see where this takes us. Dioxazine Purple is much stronger than ultramarine blue. Yeah, a little bit. It shifted a little bit. I'm going to add more blue to that. But you can do your own experiment by adding, you know, going with phthalo blue in that. And actually that'll be your homework assignment if to experiment with different blues to shift it. But I wonder what Dioxazine Purple would look like with phthalo blue. I wonder what it would look like. Should we try? Oh, this video is going to be long. Dioxazine Purple. I'm going to put plus phthalo blue so I know. And then what for the red? Let's do plus alizarin crimson. Let's just go ahead and try that. Do I have that? No, I don't have that on the chart. Okay. See, this could go on like forever and ever and ever. Okay, so we have Dioxazine Purple. I'm going to have to get another palette. And we're using phthalo blue. Phthalo blue leans towards green. Oh, I already... Shoot. Okay, well, we don't need to do that one. Let's just go here. I think it's too blue. Oh, yeah. That's really blue. It killed the Dioxazine Purple. Yeah, it killed the purple. So let's go into a little bit more purple. You got two power-hungry pigments here competing for attention. There we go. Now we can see a little bit more purple in there. Let's go a little deeper. Let's get more white in there. There we go. And you can actually take this right back up to Dioxazine Purple. It would take you forever though, but there we go. Definitely more on the blue side. Now, if we're going to go with the Dioxazine Purple and alizarin crimson, alizarin crimson is very strong as well. So again, two power-hungry pigments fighting for attention. I think this may be too red. Yeah, this is way too red. So let's bring it back to a bit more blue. So let's add a speck of Dioxazine Purple in there. There we go. But see the difference? Just by adding, if you know where the colors lean on the color wheel, just by choosing what color to shift it with. Let me just do one more little thing here, just so we have a better understanding on the chart we're working with. So, try to speed this up. And then let's take some white. So you'll be able to see the intensity level. There we go. So by taking that color, adding more blue, phthalo blue, and then adding more alizarin crimson. So you can see the differences there. All right. But you can see the phthalo blue is super, super strong. Holy smokes. If I was to go back with a lot more Dioxazine Purple, So when you're making this on your own, just use very little phthalo blue. There we go. Get that back to normal. Okay, put you over there, bring you back. So you see how I mean about just experimenting with the colors? So give that a shot so you can try different things. Oh, we just did phthalo blue and alizarin crimson, didn't we? Phthalo blue, alizarin crimson to make dioxazine purple. No, we just shifted it. So let's see, phthalo blue. I gotta make sure I don't confuse myself. Phthalo blue, alizarin crimson. I think this may be a little too blue. So the initial color mix, we want to make sure it's a violet. Let's add a little bit of white to that. Way too blue. Okay, so that tells me that alizarin crimson is not as strong as phthalo blue. Let's add some little bit of red to that. And let's get some white in there. Okay. Very dusty. Very dusty. Let's get more white in there. There we go. Now what you could do to save paint, you could just then go right into this mixture and add more blue and then add double the red. You understand what I mean? So you got this mixture. Now all we're doing is adding more blue to shift it. So if you took this and then added, let's say, a speck of blue to make it more blue, you already have white, so you'll be able to see a value. Then when you want, then take that same mixture. If you took all this and it's all you have and you added blue, then take this same mixture and add double the amount of red, just enough to shift it. Because we already know that alizarin crimson is a little bit weaker than phthalo blue. But I'll show you that. So I'm taking this. So to make it more blue, I'm going to go a little bit phthalo blue, just a speck. Oh, which is too much. But let's just take that. Okay, so that's our purple mixture with more blue. And now to go into that mixture, I'm going to add much more of the red. Because I already know from this part here that the phthalo blue is more strong, is more powerful than alizarin crimson. And then from here I can turn around and add more white to that to make it a little bit easier to see. I probably would have added more white to that one as well. Do you see how I did that experiment? It just saves on the amount of paint you have to use. But don't do it this way for the fact of saving time. If you've got the extra paint, do the full range of exercises so you get the experience, because the more on hands you do, the easier it is to commit to memory. All right, so we have phthalo blue and quinacridone violet. I'm out of room. Ooh. Phthalo blue and quinacridone violet. You start off with equal amounts, and if I just spread the paint out, I can see that it's a bit more on the blue side. I'm going to add a bit more quinacridone violet. And if you've been doing all the lessons, you can do this to save time. But if you've skipped some lessons, you need to go back to the beginning, because all the lessons are built off each other. And if you've been doing all the lessons and you're at this point now, I applaud you. It's a lot of work, but it shows that you're committed to learning, to advancing your color mixing skills. That's a little bit more blue. I'm going to take a little bit more red there. Put it right in here. What I want to do is try to make, for the middle mixture, the closest violet I can get. Okay, now I can shift it. So since I already have red, let me just take a bit more of the red, go in here. So this is my neutral. So this is going to be more of my red. So this is my mixture shifting towards red. Now I can go right in here, which is the blue part. And this is it shifting more towards blue. The shifting part is actually easy when you're only working with two pigments. It's when you're working with multiple pigments for shifting that gets more in the advanced, and we're going to be doing that in some upcoming lessons. And those lessons, unfortunately, are a little bit longer. Instead of 20 minutes, they'll be closer to 30 and 40. Right, so you see where I'm going here with this? This is a really grayed version, eh? This is quite gray. So now, I gotta put this somewhere. So we're gonna take now primary cyan and primary magenta. I love these two mixtures together. Yeah, we already know how we can make something similar. So we want to try to make a violet. We're going to take white, add that in. I think it's a bit more on the blue side. I'm not going to worry. Well, no, it's all right. It is a speck more on the blue side, so let's really shift that a little bit. So I'm going to take that, and what am I shifting it with? With primary magenta. A lot more primary magenta. Let's balance that out a little bit better. I think, yeah, see, this is where it really should have started. Then now I'm going to take more primary cyan, or really push that over to the blue side. Is that enough? Yeah. And we're adding double the amount of paint. We tend to lose some of that value, so just add more white to it. And pop that down here. Still not quite blue enough. Let me add a little bit more blue in there. Not quite blue enough. There we go. There we are. Okie dokie. Now we're going to take ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson. I have to be careful of this one because the ultramarine blue is much weaker. I think this is still too red. Let's test it with some white. Yeah. Okay, so let me go back to a bit more blue. This will also teach you to be able to make your paints, your mixtures and values and shifting easier on the fly. Okay, so now I'm going to just go right with that mixture. Going to go more with blue, right into the whole pile. Can add a bit more white to that. And I'm going to go right here. You can see my scales are getting a little bit smaller just so I can show you how to save some paint. Now we're going to take this mixture. Now we want to shift it to red, but because we already added blue, we kind of have to double up the red, but alizarin crimson, very strong. This is why you need to know what the paints can and cannot do. Is that enough of a shift? Oh yeah. Oh no, it's not. You get more red. There we go. So can you see how much money you save? That now, you don't save a ton of money when you're working with color mixes because you're experimenting. Chalk it up to it costs money to learn stuff. Because if you just watch videos and don't do the exercises, and you're not learning anything. But going past the education part, can you see how much money you'd be saving by mixing your own colors? You don't have to go out and buy all these colors. You can mix them yourself. Then we're going to take ultramarine blue and then quinacridone violet. Okay, that one I can go double equal parts. I love this mix. This is a good mix to use for something intense. or brighter, because really there's nothing more intense than Dioxazine Purple. Love that. Now, going to go more blue. So more ultramarine blue in this mix. Let's get a bit more white in there so it's easier to see. Oops, I don't know if you can see that. And now we're going to go more quinacridone violet to shift it to red. I love doing the piles big like this because it's easier for you to see on camera instead of a little thing like that. This is much easier to see. I'm going to shift that even more. I've got the paint. And please don't call this wasting paint. I mean, I hate wasting paint, but this is education. So think of it of what you're going to be saving in the long run. Here we go. How is that? So, well, we're already running at 20 minutes. You could go with further experiments on this. So we already know now we can take our mixtures and how to shift them. That's easy. It's shifting them with what? What we haven't done is we haven't taken Dioxazine Purple and shifted it with, you know, Naphthol Red Light, and, you know, whatever, all these other reds. We also have only taken Phthalo Blue with Alizarin Crimson, Quinacridone Violet. What would Phthalo Blue look like if we mixed it with Primary Magenta? What would Dioxazine Purple look like if we mixed it with Primary Cyan? What would Dioxazine Purple look like if we mixed it with Naphthol Red? So this is where now you can take this as a starting point and go off on your own chart, to do your own charts of taking your blues that you've chosen for your palette, your reds that you've chosen for your palette, but then really altering some of the mixes that you've done. Let me just, I don't want to hear a video with this. Actually, no, not that one. Let's do, just to give you an idea, because I've got the paint, ultramarine blue. No, that's the wrong one. Sorry, phthalo blue. Should have been phthalo blue. Oh, actually, I've got a phthalo blue. So let's do Primary Cyan with Alizarin Crimson, because this is going to be a pop quiz question. Let's change this up. So I'm going to write this down. So we've got Primary Cyan and Alizarin Crimson to make our violet, right? I think this may be a bit more on the blue side. Yeah, so let me get a little bit more red in there. Did I just use the wrong color? Primary Cyan, Alizarin. No, I'm good. Let's bring that a bit more white. Okay, and then we can take that, you know, I of course add more red to it. Okay, and then turn around, let's say now, so that's Primary Cyan, Alizarin Crimson, right? Well, what if now we want to shift it to blue, but use a different blue? Phthalo Blue. So what we're doing now is we're taking this mixture and we're adding a different blue to it. Plus Phthalo Blue. So now what you're going to get is you're going to get a mixture with a blue that leans towards green. And what does green do to red? It dulls it down, it grays it down. Okay, so we've got that mixture now. Well, what if we turned around now and said, okay, well, what if I use Primary Magenta now? If you're working with a limited palette, this becomes easy peasy. We're using a lot of different colors just so you can experiment. So limit the amount of reds that you do with this because you're going to get so much of a mess in there. Ooh. Okay. Look what I just learned here. I could take a dull color and brighten it up. Oh, this is a preview of what's coming up in the next lesson. So, your pop quiz is going to be, I'm going to walk you through this. I took primary cyan and alizarin crimson. Primary cyan is made up with phthalo blue and white. I took that with alizarin crimson and I came up with this. Then I added more alizarin crimson here, but then I changed it to phthalo blue here. Okay, which really doesn't make much of a difference because primary cyan is phthalo blue and white, right? Brought that down. Then I changed it to add primary magenta to it. Why did this brighten up the color when we started off with this dull mix here? We added another type of red, but why did it get brighter? Okay, so that's your pop quiz. The answer is pretty simple. You've been doing the exercises. The answer is pretty simple. So we started off primary cyan with alizarin crimson, added more alizarin crimson, went to phthalo blue, added white, added primary magenta, then I added white. How did this become brighter than this? And that's going to be your pop quiz. So your homework is going to be creating various mixes using your limited palette to shift the colors, the purple to blue and to red. Try different ways of saving paint. Try different ways. When I say saving paint, I don't mean saving paint for you to save time. Okay? Don't skip the work in order to go faster. You need to do the work. But if you've been doing every single lesson, then yeah, you're at the point now where you can save some paint by just adding more white and just not having to go all the way through. But it's always nice to see what you can get and some nice surprises. Okay, so you're going to create your mixtures and then go off and do further experimenting with the paint you have left over and any paints that aren't in your limited palette, but you've got them, so why not experiment? Okay, so go off and do a whole bunch of charts and then answer the pop quiz question here. Why did this become brighter when we added primary magenta to it? Okay, so if you're watching this on YouTube, head on over to Facebook or the community. Link is in the description below. Post your pictures and your questions over there. I'm doing most of my reviews and critiques on Facebook. And the next lesson is going to be how to brighten up or dull down violet. This should be an easy one for you. Okay, if you've done the exercises, this should be an easy one for you. I am going to throw in a little bit of a curveball in it, which will be another little teaser for the next series of colors that we're going to be working with. All right, so until I see you in that lesson, stay inspired.